I've got to do a bit of respraying on this car. What I couldn't find online was how to remove this trim from around the factory fitted sunroof. You want to actually pull this whole front piece off, which I didn't do. That's still attached. Then that gives you access to that. You unscrew that and slide back that side trim. Then it's released. If you yank hard enough, you can disconnect it from here, and similarly over the other side. I felt the front trim was held too robustly in place not to be attached somehow. So I'm going to try and access through this trim area here. On this 93 you have to unclip that light, unclip this light fitting from that slot, and then I can see we've got a star fitting there. So I'll remove that, and then this trim I'm hoping will then just come off, and I can access whatever it is that's under there. With that removed, it slots back and just comes out. This wire here is to the radio, so it will take telephone calls. I've looked at it and I seriously think the positioning is where this is here and here. I feel if I undo those, then that might release something. This one on this side was not moving, and then after a lot of effort it's just suddenly clicked and started to move, but I don't know what that's going to mean. So I've got it off. Obviously all along this side and all on that side are just these simple push clips, but here and here it looks as if it's been held by the captive quick nuts. When you put these on and they're loose, that slots into the captive nut. That quick nut slides in there, and then when you screw that up, it grips this part there. So that would, I think, have had that slot in order that it can slot around that bolt that comes through. This one here, however, has broken off and has broken the piece of plastic. It wouldn't give way when I was undoing it inside, and then it did, and I guess when it did that, it snapped that plastic and then just started to rotate. It wasn't undoing, but you can see that's actually broken, snapped due to rust, which has caused that. But it should be okay, even if I just have that one holding it on. This is the U-nut or clip that was on there, the one that was in good condition. I've got some of these in stainless steel, so I'm going to replace both of those with the stainless steel ones. I'll still continue to use that. I'll clean the thread up and put plenty of copper ease on it, and hopefully that'll protect it. The thread on that bolt was so badly rusted that to clean it up properly I had to run it through an M4 die. To take it off, you should undo that screw. Having undone that screw, that releases that which I've broken there, and then you're in a position to pull back on this trim and release it. Not knowing that, all I did in reality was yank back on this trim and end up breaking that. This is some sort of filler that's in there. And I thought, and so did somebody else, that it was a bump stop for the sunroof. Well, the sunroof is open and it's not hitting that. I think it may just be a deflector, an air deflector to stop whistling noise. And the reason for that is if I go over that side and lift this, what I would have thought is just some sort of mastic that's been put in there, you can see that the sunroof hits that metal clip when you open it. So that is the stop, and that I'm going to guess is just some way of sealing off that area. That's just a guess. With this grey trim that should be black, I think, that goes around the sunroof, which I had to take off to do some spray painting, I tried a couple of things. I tried using the heat gun, and then I tried sanding with 100 grit up to here, and then I sanded back with 400 grit here, all along here, and then I ended up using Autosol chrome metal polish. It's a bit scratched, but that seemed to be reasonably successful compared to the grey bit. And then what I'm going to go with actually is this white Scotch pad, and I've put the Autosol on with that, and I've rubbed that in. So it always looks better before it dries when you do this sort of thing, but this is it after 10-15 minutes. So I think that's ultimately what it's going to come out like. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than this grey. So that's what I'm going with. That way I won't get the scratches. It still have that ripple effect. I ended up using a green Scotch pad, and the centre one here, I would just swipe it, and I ran up and down first, and then down both sides I would just swipe some, and then it got into the pitted original finish better, and then just ran along the whole length. It's the other one, and compared to how it was, I think that's coming out pretty well. That's been drying while I've been doing the other one with the powder on it from the auto glim. That's the old grey colour. That's a bit that I've done part way along. I finished doing the other two pieces, so I'll just wipe them off and see what they look like. So far, so good, and it hasn't really affected the stipple effect or scratched it too much, but this has just needed one pass. Same with this one, the results I think are really good. It's not 100% perfect, but a lot better than it was. I'm just going to give it a clean with a car polish and then reattach it. Following the respray, I've got to put the trim back on around the side of the sunroof. What I've done all the way around this sunroof is I've put on this Captain Trolleys creeping crack cure, which I've used many times before on old cars, always round the windscreen seals all over. And I've done it also on the sunroof frame. Whether it makes any difference or not, I have no idea, but it's drawn in by capillary action. Because I've broke this connection when I took it off, I don't need to undo that. I'm going to guess that it goes underneath that rubber grommet there. So it's just going to be a question of slotting it in, pushing it forward, and persuading it to go under that grommet. So that's firmly in place, and I think that rubber bit there, I've just pushed it in. It just makes it look good and seals that end up. Now I'll tackle that side. So I've just located the fasten nut by feel. With those two fasten nuts in place, that one and that one, because they're facing outwards, hopefully that will just slot into place. Clip that one in. I'll go and clip the other one in. They've gone into position on those fasten nuts there. So there's then just this one to clip in. With those screwed up tight, this part of the frame is definitely locked in place and won't move. I've got to reattach the aerial, and I'm conscious there doesn't really seem to be any form of weatherproof seal for this area here. So again, I'm just going to add some liquid trolleys on there. I guess the alternative would have been to use some silicone sealant. That's the aerial connection that's got to go back with this, I think it's an 8mm nut that will go on the end of that as it protrudes through. The car was fitted with the blip controller, but my understanding is that some of these have set fire. I'm not bothered about having that controller, and on the basis some have fused and set fire, I'm going to take it out, and that's just that simple plug-in connection there. With that removed, I'll put it back together. While I was here, I thought I'd change the bulbs as well for LED ones, as these are pretty dark. That's the LED replacement. They only work in one direction, so if it doesn't work the first time you put it in, you have to turn it over, because the polarity is important. With that in, it's a brighter, whiter light. And I'll just have a look at the map light to see what that one is. So that's the same bulb arrangement. These ones that are coming out are 12 volt, 5 watts.